My mother abandoned me in a hospital after surgery to go on vacation with my stepdad. Now CPS investigated her for neglect, and my dad won the custody she never expected to lose. I'm 15 years old, I'll be 16 inches a few months, and I need to tell this because basically my mom abandoned me in a hospital to go on vacation with my stepdad. And yeah, I know it sounds horrible, but that's how it happened. I guess I should start from the beginning, so it makes sense. Because it's not like my mom was always like this. I mean, yeah, she was a bit neglectful with me, but I never thought it would get to this. You know? My parents got divorced like 3 years ago. I was 12 when it happened. It wasn't a surprise, to be honest. They fought all the time. Like every week there were screams and door slamming, and I would lock myself in my room with headphones trying not to listen. They were basically incompatible. My dad is super calm and organized, and my mom is like a tornado. Everything has to be dramatic and exciting for her. My dad works in accounting, super boring stuff with numbers all day. And my mom at that time was starting with being a beauty influencer on social media. They literally lived in different worlds. When they finally got divorced, it was almost a relief. No more fights, no more tension in the house. My dad moved to another city like 2 hours away for his job. And I stayed with my mom because, I don't know, I guess I assumed she needed me more. And plus all my friends were here. The first few months after the divorce were weird but not terrible. My mom was focused on her Instagram and YouTube account. She filmed makeup videos and skincare routines all day, and I basically did my own thing. I went to school, did my homework, saw my dad every 2 weeks. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. You know what I mean? My mom was never the maternal type who makes you breakfast and asks how your day was. But at least we were okay, just the two of us, without all the marriage drama. But then she met Mitchell. That was like 2.5 years ago. I was 13. She met him at an influencer event or something like that. He worked in marketing for a big company, had good money and 2 sons from a previous marriage, a couple of idiots who were 16 and 14 years old at that time. From the beginning, I didn't like Mitchell. He had that vibe of a controlling guy who thinks he's superior to everyone. Everything with him was, you have to do this way, you shouldn't dress like that behavior isn't appropriate. And my mom, who literally never cared about any of those things, suddenly started agreeing with him on everything. It was like she had sold her personality to be with this guy. They got married super fast, like after only 1 year of dating. It wasn't even a big wedding. It was something small in a garden with like 30 people. And I remember my dad called me that day to ask if I was okay, and I told him yes. But the truth is, I wasn't okay. Mitchell and his sons moved into our house, and that's when everything got truly horrible. Mitchell's sons were jerks to me from day one. They made fun of my clothes, my hair, basically, everything. Mitchell let them do whatever they wanted, never scolded them, but he criticized me for everything. Like if I left a dish in the sink, if my room was messy, if I arrived 10 minutes late from a friend's house. My mom didn't do anything to defend me. She just said things like, "Mitchell is right, honey, you should be more responsible." Things kept getting worse little by little. Mitchell basically took control of everything in the house. He decided what we had for dinner, what shows we watched on TV, when I could go out with my friends. My mom was so obsessed with keeping him happy that she completely sacrificed me, you know. She stopped asking me how I was, stopped going to my school events, basically only cared about Mitchell and his sons. I started spending more time in my room, avoiding them all. I talked to my dad on the phone almost every day, and he could tell something was wrong. He would ask me if I wanted to move in with him, but I kept saying no because, I don't know. I guess a part of me kept hoping that my mom would react and go back to being my mom. Does that make sense? Like 6 months ago, Mitchell got a big promotion at his job, and he decided the whole family should go on vacation to celebrate. And when I say the whole family, I mean him, my mom, and his 2 sons. Me, they basically included as an obligation, I think. They planned this luxury trip to a beach resort, all-inclusive, for 2 weeks. My mom was super excited, buying new clothes, planning outfits for her Instagram photos. I was like, well, at least I'll get out of the house for a while. The day before we were supposed to leave for the trip was when everything went to shit. Sorry for the language, but there's no other way to describe it. My mom and I were in the car. She was driving. We were coming back from buying some last-minute things for the trip. I was in the passenger seat checking my phone. I think I was talking to a friend. My mom was distracted. I don't know if she was checking her cell phone or what, But she didn't see that the traffic light was red. The car coming from the other side hit us directly on my side, the passenger side. I remember the sound of metal and glass breaking, and then I woke up in an ambulance with horrible pain in my arm. It turned out I had broken my arm, serious fracture that needed surgery, and I also had a concussion. My mom only had minor bruises, nothing serious. They took us to the hospital and they operated on me that same night. When I woke up after surgery, my arm was completely in a cast from my shoulder to my fingers. My whole body hurt, and I felt dizzy from the concussion. My mom was there in the room, but she looked super stressed, like more worried about something else than about me. Mitchell arrived like an hour later with his sons, and that's when the most surreal conversation of my life started. Mitchell told my mom that they had spent a lot of money on this trip and that it wasn't refundable, that they had to go. My mom was like, "But Amelia just had surgery." And Mitchell said, "The doctors say she's going to be fine. She just needs rest. She can stay here in the hospital a few days and then go home. She's old enough to take care of herself." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I literally thought I was hallucinating from the medications. I'm 15 years old. I had just come out of surgery. I had a concussion, and this guy was suggesting they leave me alone. And the worst part is that my mom, instead of telling him he was crazy, started considering the idea. They spent like 2 hours arguing in low voices in the corner of my hospital room, while I was lying there pretending to sleep, but hearing everything. My mom was saying things like, "But Mitchell, she's my daughter." And he was saying, "And I'm your husband. This is a special occasion for our family. She's going to be fine. Don't be dramatic." Finally, my mom gave in. She came to my bed, woke me up, supposedly I was sleeping, and told me, "Honey, we're going to go ahead with the trip. The doctors say you're going to be fine and you can leave the hospital in 2 or 3 days. We're going to leave you money and you can call an Uber to go back home when they discharge you. We'll be back in 2 weeks." I just stayed there, staring at her, waiting for her to say it was a joke. But it wasn't. Mitchell was behind her with his arms crossed. His sons were in the hallway laughing at something on their phones, and my mom was telling me she was going to abandon me in a hospital to go on vacation. I started crying, like really crying. I told her, "Please don't go. I just had surgery. I'm scared. Everything hurts." She just patted my head and said, "You're going to be fine. You're a strong girl." And then she left. They literally left me there that same night. They put like $200 in cash on the table next to my bed and went to the airport. I couldn't sleep that night. I cried and cried until a nurse came in and asked me what was wrong. I told her everything, that my mom and stepdad had left me alone to go on vacation, and she was like horrified. She asked me if there was anyone else who could come for me, any relative. And that's when I realized I could call my dad. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. I guess I was in shock. I asked the nurse to help me call him because my phone had broken in the accident. My dad answered on the second ring, and when the nurse explained the situation to him, he completely lost it. I had never heard him that furious in my life. He told the nurse he was coming immediately, not to leave me alone, that he was going to sue my mom. Basically, he was yelling so much that the nurse had to move the phone away from her ear. He arrived like at 2 in the morning. He had driven 2 hours in the middle of the night to be with me. When he walked into my hospital room and saw me there with my arm in a cast crying, his eyes got watery, and my dad never cries, literally never. He hugged me as much as he could without hurting me and told me, "I'm here now. I'm not going to leave you. Never." He stayed with me in the hospital for the next 72 hours until they discharged me. He slept in a super uncomfortable chair next to my bed. He didn't leave even to go to his hotel. He talked to the nurses and doctors about my condition, made sure I had my medicines on time, brought me food I actually liked from outside because the hospital food was horrible. And all that time I kept thinking, why isn't my mom doing this? How can she be on a beach taking photos for Instagram while I'm here recovering from surgery? When they discharged me, my dad took me straight to his house. On the way, he told me he had talked to a lawyer and that he was going to report my mom and Mitchell to Child Protective Services for negligence and abandonment. He asked me if I was okay with that, and I said yes, because the truth is what they did was horrible. Right? You can't just leave your teenage daughter alone in a hospital to go on vacation. That's not normal. That's not something good parents do. My mom called me like 5 days after they had arrived at the resort. She didn't even ask how I was. She just said, "Amelia, honey, are you home yet? I heard your dad went to get you." How dramatic, right? I told you you'd be fine. I hung up on her without saying anything. She called me like 10 more times that day, but I didn't answer any of them. My dad sent her a message saying that I was with him, that I was physically okay, but emotionally devastated by what she had done, and to expect news from CPS and possibly from lawyers. 2 weeks later, when they came back from their trip, CPS had already opened an investigation. A social worker went to interview my mom, Mitchell, and me. My mom tried to make it sound like it wasn't a big deal. She said she had left money, that she knew the doctors were taking good care of me, that her daughter was very mature and could handle it. Mitchell said the same thing, that it was responsible of him to make sure his sons had this important family experience. Like, seriously? What about me? Don't I count as part of the family? During all this time, my mom called me, constantly trying to convince me that what they did wasn't that bad. She told me I was exaggerating, that I was being dramatic just like my dad. Mitchell also sent me messages, telling me I was being a spoiled brat and that I should be grateful they had left me money. His sons posted things on social media making fun of me, saying I was a crybaby looking for attention. Everything was so surreal, like I was the bad one for being upset that they had abandoned me in a hospital. The social worker who interviewed me was very kind to me. She asked me a lot of questions about what it was like living with my mom and Mitchell, if I felt safe, if they had enough food in the house, that kind of thing. I told her everything, not just about the hospital, but also about how Mitchell treated me, how my mom ignored me, how Mitchell's sons bothered me constantly. She took notes on everything and nodded with concern. Then my mom asked me to meet with her alone, without my dad present. I agreed to see her at a cafe because I felt like I at least owed her to hear what she had to say. When I got there, Mitchell was with her, which was already a sign that this wasn't going to go well. They sat in front of me, and my mom started with, "Honey, I need you to understand our perspective. We had planned this trip for months. We had spent thousands of dollars. We couldn't just lose all that money," Mitchell added. "Plus, your mom needed that break. Her Instagram account has been suffering lately, and she needed new content. This was a business opportunity for her, too." I looked at them like, "Are you serious? I had just broken my arm. I had just come out of surgery. And they're justifying it with needing content for Instagram." I told them, "You know what? It doesn't matter. I don't care anymore." My mom got all defensive and said, "That attitude is exactly the problem. You've always been selfish. You never think about anyone but yourself." Mitchell nodded and added, "Your mom has made a lot of sacrifices for you, and you don't appreciate anything." I got up from the table and left. I seriously couldn't be there one more minute listening to that garbage. My dad was waiting for me outside in the parking lot because he knew this wasn't going to end well, and when he saw me crying coming out of the cafe, he hugged me and told me, "You never have to see them again if you don't want to." The CPS investigation continued for a few more weeks. My mom called me begging me to say it had all been a misunderstanding, that it hadn't been negligence, that she had taken the necessary precautions by leaving me in the hospital. She told me, "If you go ahead with this, Mitchell could lose his job. I could lose custody of you. Please, Amelia, think about the consequences." And I thought, why do I have to be the one who worries about the consequences when you didn't worry about me when you left me alone in a hospital? The social worker told me I could tell the truth without fear, that my job wasn't to protect the adults but to protect myself. So when they asked me during the official interview if I felt there had been negligence, I said yes, absolutely. I told everything exactly as it had happened, without exaggerating anything, but without minimizing it either. I said I had felt abandoned, scared, and that I didn't trust my mom to take care of me appropriately. They didn't completely take custody away from my mom, but they gave her an official warning and forced her to take mandatory parenting classes. Mitchell also received a warning. My dad immediately petitioned for custody modification, and the judge agreed that I should live primarily with him, given the circumstances. My mom could have supervised visits if I would. Agreed. But I wasn't obligated to see her if I didn't want to. I officially moved in with my dad like 4 months ago. It was weird at first. You know, new house, new school, new routine. But it was good weird, not bad weird. My dad really cares about me. He makes me breakfast every morning before school, helps me with my homework, goes to all my school events. I have my own room that we decorated together, and he let me paint it whatever color I wanted. Dark purple, which I know probably isn't his favorite, but he never complained. 2 weeks ago, it was my birthday, and he threw me a party with my new friends from school. Nothing too big, But it was the first time I actually celebrated my birthday in years because my mom was always too busy or didn't think it was important. My mom has sent me messages a few times asking if we can talk, saying she misses me, that things can be different. I haven't responded. Part of me, a very small part, still wants to believe she can change, that she can go back to being my mom. But most of me knows it's probably not going to happen, that she chose Mitchell over me and that decision is already made. Mitchell posted on Facebook a few weeks ago something about how hard it is to have ungrateful stepchildren, clearly talking about me, and my mom liked the post. To that told me everything I needed to know about where her priorities are. I'm still in therapy processing all of this. My therapist says it's normal to feel anger, sadness, and also guilt even though none of this was my fault. Some days I'm fine. I go to school, hang out with friends, live my life. Other days I stay in my room crying because I still can't believe my mom actually did this to me. My dad is patient with me on the bad days. He just sits with me and lets me cry if I need to cry. He doesn't tell me to get over it or to be strong. He just lets me feel what I need to feel. A few days ago, my dad asked me if I ever want to try talking to my mom again. And I told him, honestly, I don't know. Maybe someday. When I'm ready. When she proves she's really changed. But for now, I'm good here with my dad, feeling safe and cared for the first time in years. My arm is almost completely healed. Classes are going well. I have good friends here. Things aren't perfect, but they're so much better than they were. And I guess that's enough for now, you know?